My guest is Farah Murat. She's a senior market analyst from Equiti. Welcome, Farah. Nice to have you on our show.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I want to start with geopolitics because recently geopolitical tensions has increased between Israel and Iran and is affecting the asset classes and sentiment of the investors. So how do you see it? How does it affect, for example, gold or oil?
Well, it was a main player. We saw escalation, de-escalation, and whenever we saw huge news, then we saw prices of gold, for example, spiking to the highest highs. Oil as well spiked. We'll talk a bit about the difference that we're seeing in the movement of gold and oil when it comes to geopolitical tensions. But if I want to talk about gold, right after this, I would say, situation, when we saw a bit of both parties playing down the effect, de-escalating the situation, then we saw gold dropping more than 100 USD per ounce. That's a huge amount of correction. We didn't see that since last year, since December. And I believe that the spike that we saw, too many people or too many even market analysts, I'm hearing them attributing it to geopolitical tension. I highly doubt that's the main drive for the prices of gold. I was checking data coming from hedge funds. They were not buying gold for the last month. We just recently saw inflows to gold ETFs. It was majorly moving because of huge purchase of central banks around the globe. So that means something. That means that this uptrends could be sustainable throughout the year. Of course, when we see geopolitical situation escalating, we would see this inflow to safe havens. But I believe these are creating better opportunities for traders on a short term, whether to buy the escalation, to sell the de-escalation. And this is literally what we're seeing on gold. Now, seasonality is expected to show us a bit of consolidation. Either if we don't see more escalation, whatever that means during the situation right now, then maybe a correction is not ruled out. Consolidation, sideways movement is the most probable scenario, but I still believe gold is sustained for the long term. Now, oil also, I can see not even from this recent escalation, even throughout the year, whenever there is news coming, we see a spike on gold only for a day, only for a couple of hours, and then we see it back. It is an uptrend, but I still believe it is sustained because of other issues, such as OPEC continuing with their production cuts. Dollar was a bit under pressure, which also helped commodities more than geopolitical tension so far.
Okay, since you mentioned about, I'll jump into another topic. Erdogan recently visited Iraq, and one of the topics was oil pipeline. I didn't see a solution there, but they also talk about water and also a new economic corridor. So what do you think the importance of this visit?
I mean, the corridor is a very interesting project. I believe that's the main focal point, especially if we want to link it to the GCC, because it's a road that would link definitely Turkey and Turkish products to the GCC on the longer term. Now, when I want to speak about the pipe, it can be a main player because the capacity of this pipe is around 1.4 million. But then again, even before the shutdown, it never reached that capacity. It was around 450, and now the talk 450,000, and now the talks are to bring back 200,000. So it is more, I would believe, an interesting deal for Turkey, for Iraq. More than we would see a huge effect on the oil market. It's a small amount to see a huge reaction, even if it comes back to the market. It is important to bring back also trust in Iraqi oil that was a little bit, I would say there was a mistrust for a long time period. So it is a good introduction. But as I said before, this development route that we're talking about, this corridor, economic corridor, it would be the most interesting deal, I would say, to Turkey, especially linked to GCC and this region.
Since you mentioned about Turkey, let's dive into Turkey a little bit more. How do you see Turkey? Recently that we see some influence, portfolio influence to Turkey.
Yes.
Economy is getting better, but still we have an inflation problem. There is currency risk. How do you or foreign investors see Turkey?
I mean, as you said, the Turkish Istanbul Bursa All Share Index, it rose since the beginning of the year 24% in US dollar terms. That's amazing. That's, I would say, it's one of the top performing during this year. There's too many reasons for that. One of them is actually inflation. Me as a local investor, if I want to check the opportunities that I have in the economy in Turkey, saving doesn't really bring that much profit or revenue or compared to equities. So I would see this move towards equity. But even on a global scale, especially when it comes to the tech stocks, they rose even around way better than the all share index. It rose around 61%. So that's also bringing more interest to Turkish market. I believe it could be sustainable, especially that we are moving towards lower inflation, but inflation is still sticky global-wise, and the growth is also expected to be lower. So I think this the countries that would benefit the most from this situation, Turkey could be one of them, India could be one of them, Mexico, China, these countries that can provide high quality, good quality products, but with cheaper prices. And with inflation also the highest, like the fourth highest in the world now, Turkey, it can also provide cheaper products for the global market. So here's also an interesting opportunity that we can benefit from.
Okay. Since we are in Dubai, I wanted a final question about GCC and this region, because capital markets are developing, we see more IPOs, and you have many clients. How do you see the interest capital markets, IPOs in the region, and also is your clients asking Turkish equities?
I mean, Turkish lira was a trend for the clients in the region for so long, not even in the region, even worldwide, because of, you know, the changes in the policies from very unorthodox, now moving back to an orthodox policy. It brought a lot of attention to the Turkish lira. But now, especially with the spike that we saw in the stock market, we can see more interest in the investment portfolio, swap agreements between banks. That's the major interest now in Turkey. There was more talks between governments, GCC governments and Turkey when it comes to POR, Izmir POR, for example. Fina Energy, also it was a focal interest for the region, investors here, as well as, I would say, roads, infrastructure. It was an interest. I didn't see anything that turns it to reality for the time being, but I mean everything that we're seeing, all this hype that we're seeing, whether the talks with Iraq, whether the development road, whether, you know, this interest in the infrastructure and the interest in the portfolio profile investment as well, I believe there is a huge opportunity that might present itself in the midterm between GCC and Turkey.
Okay, thank you, Farah, for your insightful views. Looking forward to see you again.
Hopefully, and thank you so much for having me.